Career mode is upon us, and today we are playing two games, and our first one is against Tottenham, and our second one is against West Brom. I am going to do a postcom on this one because it's actually quiet outside today, so I can actually do one. Champions League 2016-17 final is upon us almost, and I am really excited for it. I think it's going to be one of the best finals in years, and it's also going to be between the two best teams in Europe at this moment in time. If you look at Juventus and how well they've played, they are at the top of the Serie A easily, and they obviously won it. They have icons like your Buffons, you got your Bonucci's, you got Barzagli, who never really gets any praise, you got Chiellini, Dybala, you know, all these players, and it's just a team, you know, pure team. They have some star players, you know, they've got Mandzukic, who's playing left wing back pretty much, with sort of Alexandro behind him, but they're very interchangeable, and they are just a solid team. You know, they are literally the definition of a team. They don't have somebody like a Ronaldo that's just, you know, scores 7 billion goals and then everyone else behind him just sort of has to be the feeder. They just work so well together. You look at, Dani Alves and how he plays for them. He's old, obviously, compared to a lot of players, but he's still just class and quality, and it's just a team that I really like watching. I've watched them since the first knockout round of the Champions League, all of their games in the Champions League. I watched a couple of their games on BT Sport in the UK. That's where we get our Serie A games. I watched a couple of their games. They were a very nice team to watch, but it is a bit easy for them in that Serie A at the moment. Then we come on to Real Madrid, and again, they do actually have a team. They're not just like a one man that they have to feed and that scores a lot of goals and it's just a bunch of individuals. They do have a team. It's not just a bunch of individuals. They do actually have a team. Because you look at how they bring on players like Asensio and Isco who work for them. You've got Modric and Kroos who work well in the midfield. They link up well with Ronaldo, come in deep if he has to. They have their wider players, you know, like Bale. And then they've also got like Casemiro, who's coming into a bit of nice form, and they play him quite a bit too. Their defence, you could say, maybe like Pepe and with Keylor Navas, maybe isn't the greatest, but they've won so much together as a defensive unit. Like, you can say that maybe there's holes, but I don't see it. I can see them just winning that easily. In terms of the league, they've just won it as well. So it's two champions. You know, it is literally the ultimate of champion in the Champions League. It's the two champions of two of the biggest countries, the biggest clubs in the world, playing against each other on the final. And it is going to be one of the greatest games, I think, in terms of Champions League finals. The squad depth could be something that is going to decide this Champions League final, because if you look at with Juventus's team, they have players that they always seem to bring on is Thomas Rincon, they have Juan Cuadrado and Mario Lemina. They don't really bring on anyone else because they've got Storaro, Lichtsteiner and like Kwadwo Asamoah. They can't really bring on anybody else. Their team starting 11 is just insane. If you wanted to go through their starting 11, you've got Buffon, Chiellini, Pjanic is in there, you got Khedira, you got Higuain, Alexandro, Barzagli, Mandzukic, Bonucci, and the list goes on. You know, Dani Alves, Dybala, just insane team. But are they well equipped to deal with Real Madrid's team? Because they have just top class players from A to Z in every position and on the bench. Compare that with Juventus. Obviously, I've just read out some of their players and I've just spoken about their players that they can bring on. Whereas you look at Real Madrid's squad and their 11, obviously I don't need to go through their whole 11, everybody knows it, but in reserves, if they had an injury to one of their main defenders, they've got, Varane and Nacho, who could come into that. They've got Marcelo as the main left back. They've got Cohen Trau, who hardly plays, and he's a brilliant defender. They've got, right back. They've got Carvajal, but they've also got Danilo. You know, they've got basically 2 players for every position. If they lose one, they can just put another one in. And then you look at Asensio, who they can bring on, a young player who's very good. Lucas Vasquez, who's very good too. They link very well with Ronaldo when they come onto the pitch. Their squad is so good that if they get into trouble, they can change it. Juventus, I think if they get into trouble, they have to do it themselves. End of that game against Tottenham, we did actually have a few less shots than they did, but their shots were all outside the box pretty much. We actually did really well that game, and I loved the little change that we did for the team. Our second game is against West Brom, so I'm going to leave you in that, and I will go straight into the match. They've got a very nice team. As I said, they can work as a team. They are fluid. They can have 3 at the back. They can have 4 at the back. They can change to a sort of diamond midfield. They've played quite a few different formations this season. Allegri helps them in that because he knows all these inside out, and they do too because he's coached them so well. The difficulty that's going to be is predicting this match. And I want, as I've said, I already said in a previous video, I want Juventus to win. Because of Buffon, because of some of these players. It's maybe their last opportunity to win it. And obviously Real Madrid have won it quite a few times recently. I think Juventus will just about win. Because if they can get their noses in front, all they need is a sniff. Higuain needs a sniff. If he can get his fat ass off the ground and gets a header in, and it goes in, that's all he needs. Because that is all he can do. He just gets a sniff and scores a goal. And then all they have to do, they can defend. They shut out Barcelona. They shut out Monaco. They can shut out Real Madrid. And maybe that's where you could say the aura of Ronaldo might help Real Madrid. Because he can score from anywhere, pretty much. And he doesn't necessarily need everybody to help him. But he can pull something out the bag, especially in a final. Score predictions for the game. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Juventus. My reasoning is Ronaldo will get a goal, but I think Juventus will figure him out and they'll be able to sit somebody on him or just be able to block out his shots and he won't be able to score again. And I don't know whether they're going to have Isco or Bale as their starting positions in terms of that sort of right wing / behind the striker role. And so it might be difficult for them to decide, and it might go down to last minute, which maybe might change their plans a little. And it might freak out Juventus if they do that. But I think with Allegri, they are going to easily sort of defend against that. And I think they do have more than a goal in them, because you've seen them in these games. When it's a one-off game, it is a bit different, because they do need to score. You could say in some of the games where they've maybe played the bigger teams, I know it didn't happen like this, but imagine they'd sort of had the home game and they got a goal and just sat back and then they sort of relied on that in the second leg, which they could do because they're well worth doing that. Their clean sheet record is really good. But I just feel like in one game they need to score and then they're pretty much set. So, as I said, my prediction, 2-1 Juventus. That's what I'm going to stick with. I was wrong for the FA Cup final, but I was right about who was going to get to the Champions League final. So that's my prediction. What's your prediction? Comment below, and back to me in the studio. West Brom played quite well in that game, but unfortunately for them, we were insane. I loved that little counter-attack we have going on there, and putting in Larsson, he's actually done very well. I was thinking of getting rid of him, but in terms of how he played, I actually do really think he's done well this season. And I'm looking at trying to get rid of somebody like Ndong, because he's not really done that well. Like, our back four is pretty decent. Putting Manquillo in has actually made it a little bit better compared to having Oviedo there. But in terms of that midfield, it's good with Kessie and Larsson, because Kessie is a beast. End of the episode. So, if you enjoyed it, please could you give it a like? And if you really enjoyed it, please consider to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye!